we talked, you were talking about you were sharing that experience you had, right? And
Right.
I don't know many people have done this shit, and I've listened to other people do it, but I thought maybe it might be something cool that if you wanted to share about it, I'd like to learn about it. But like, how did what attracted you to wanting to try it?
There's a few reasons. One, I've been on my own personal journey of healing from trauma, from childhood stuff, from things I've been through in my life, and I'd kind of got myself to like Chris 2.0 version. You know what I mean? Good job, doing the martial arts thing, being involved with my community, volunteering. I got involved with the special forces experience and all that kind of stuff, and I was really, but I still felt stuck in a few ways. You know, and a good friend of mine named Matt Belair, he really interesting guy. Me and him used to train Jeet Kune Do actually way back in the day around high school time. After high school, he kind of disappeared a little bit. He kind of fell off the face of the earth, and he went on his own spiritual journey. He went and trained with the Shaolin monks for I think 8 months. He went to Thailand for a long time. He went to like Egypt, the pyramids. He kind of went on his own soul searching adventure, if you will. And he went to Peru as well, and he did ayahuasca there. So I don't know if you know the difference between like DMT and ayahuasca.
No, not really. Is ayahuasca like plant based and DMT is like something from an extraction?
Kind of. The way I understand it is there's plants in the Amazon, and the leaves, I don't remember the name of it, but the leaf of that plant has DMT in it naturally.
Okay.
DMT is also a natural chemical in our bodies. It's what they say makes us dream. But our metabolism and our gut biome has what I think it's called 5-MeO metabolites, and it chews up DMT really quick. So unless you're in a deep sleep, like your REM sleep, then you get a little bit of it because your body has slowed down, your metabolism is slowed down, and allows the DMT, which
Oh,
is actually excreted from your pineal gland. So DMT is a natural chemical that's already in our body. We just don't really get the feel of it unless we're in a very deep sleep, and they say that that's what makes you dream. But there's a plant that has DMT in its leaves, and then in the Amazon there's the ayahuasca vine. The ayahuasca vine contains a natural herb that is a 5-MeO blocker, and so they mix that together in like a brew, the DMT leaves and then the ayahuasca vine, and then you drink it. And the 5-MeO blocker that's naturally in the ayahuasca vine stops your metabolism from eating up the DMT from the leaves, and then it absorbs in your body, and it's like an 8-12 hour experience.
that's crazy.
Yeah, which I haven't experienced that yet, but I did DMT, which you smoke it. And when you smoke it, it's about a 10 to 20 minute experience. But I mean, man, it's like
Boom.
rocket launch, dude, like rocket launch. And it's like dreaming. You wake up from a dream. You don't know if you've been asleep for 5 minutes or 10 hours. Like time
Wow.
stands still. Yeah. And what they say it does is it breaks the barrier between your conscious and your unconscious mind, or your subconscious mind. So they say like we only access 10% of our brain consciously. And they say that DMT is like something that breaks through that barrier, and you almost like consciously delve into your subconscious mind. So it opens up more consciousness within your brain. Yeah.
I think you'd have to really be careful before doing something like that, eh? You'd have to be around the right people and make sure you be able to like understand. You might have to face some shit that
Well,
you might not want to face.
I'll tell you, brother, I was nervous because I've got some shit that I've, in my life, traumas, things I've done, things I've been through, some dark stuff from my past and whatnot. And I was pretty worried about things coming up that I didn't want to have to deal with. But and then talking to Matt, he set me up with somebody in Toronto, like she calls herself like a neo shaman. So like a modern day shaman. She studied in Peru for 10 years. Really awesome person. So I went and did a DMT ceremony with her, and it was a really beautiful experience. And what I can tell, it's like, I don't know if you've listened to Joe Rogan's podcast and stuff when he talks about it. When he has people on that have done DMT or ayahuasca, he'll be like, hey, what was it like? And they're like, and he's like, exactly. You're trying to explain something that is like out of this world with words from this world. It's really difficult to put into words. And everyone's different, right? Everyone has different experiences, has been through different things in their life, different biological and chemical makeup. What they say is that when you do ayahuasca or DMT, it stays with you. It stays with you for a long time. It's very subtle. The original experience is very, very intense, but it's over. Like you can drive like 20 minutes after. Like it's nothing that you feel afterwards. It's very subtle over time. The way you think, the way you perceive things, the way you see the world, things that used to like piss you off, like someone cuts you off driving or in the grocery store, you'll just notice. For me anyways, I noticed a lot of subtle little differences in my thinking and my perception on life and things like that. And that's continued through. Like I did it in December of 2019. I still find those little subtle changes that pop up in my life.
And you would say they're all for the better?
Yes.
So you say, would it be like just, I guess it's just kind of like a veil that's been lifted over your head? Rather, you just look at things from a different perspective or understand things for what they are, not necessarily for what they seem to be?
Yeah. And your consciousness, you're just like more aware. You see things differently. They're brought to the forefront more, I guess is the best way to describe it.
What would you say the biggest difference is before, like Chris, before and the Chris 2.0?
Consciousness. And what I mean by that is like more conscious of yourself, the way you think, the self-talk and the talk in your brain throughout your day, the way you make decisions, really the way you think. It's really a neuroplasticity experience, is the best way I can describe it. I really find myself just more conscious and aware of the way I'm thinking, the way I behave, my thoughts, the way I talk to myself in a good way, in a positive way. And if there's things that I used to do, I get pissed off about little things, someone cuts you off or whatever, I notice it just doesn't happen naturally. Those are probably the biggest differences I've noticed with myself.
It's funny how they don't really promote using it then, for like certain people who have, traumatic experiences, that they would use that for like a therapy.
Yeah, and because what it can do is if you've had trauma, which I have in my past, a lot of the time your body, it has a system that protects you from acknowledging or dealing with painful stuff. And it gets suppressed, it gets buried. It could be things from your childhood, it could be bad experiences. And those things stay with you unless you truly deal with them. And that can be very difficult for people to do on their own. And like DMT and ayahuasca is a plant medicine that can facilitate those things. Again, your consciousness, right? You break through those barriers mentally, that you dive into your subconscious and you start to open up a lot of those things maybe that you've buried or you've blocked out of your memory, or you really haven't. You may think you've dealt with them because they don't seem to affect you, because you don't think about it, you don't remember it, or you've suppressed it, but it still lives within you, and that energy is there, and that negative energy still, cycles through your body. It still manifests inside of you, whether you like to admit it or not. I've been guilty of that myself. Yeah, I've dealt with this, I've dealt with that, and it just wasn't the truth.
When you're on it, like is it something where it incapacitates you, like like you're not able to walk, or is it make you feel like, you know, the ground's uneven? Like what kind of euphoric feelings does it give you? Because I have no idea. You know what I mean?
Brother, I'm telling you, it's like fucking rocket launch, like out of this fucking world. I don't really remember a lot. I'll tell you exactly what I remember. So this woman, she greets you. She's a sweetheart and a half. Makes you a nice herbal tea. You sit down and talk. Very comfortable setting. Very relaxed. And then she'll do some breath work with you, and then you'll get ready, and then you'll smoke the DMT. And as you inhale, you have to hold it, and she'll do like a 10-second countdown. And I can remember her getting to like 7, 6, and my eyes just went like,
Wow.
and like gone. Like, I don't know if I fell asleep, but that's the best. Like, I went into dreamland, like very vivid dreamland. Like
That's
I was on
crazy.
another planet, man. I was in another world.
And
And
did you guys have like some like training, or had like a conversation about what happens if I start tripping hard, or things
yeah,
like
so
that?
she can actually, so she like chants and sings. It's really beautiful, man. It's really beautiful. She chants and sings and has a drum and this stuff, and she can pull you out of it whenever she wants. With her words, she can pull you out. If she knows, or you say out loud, like, I want to stop, that's the crazy power of the mind, man. Yeah, I didn't have to do that, but she's like guaranteed it. If it's too much and I can feel your heart, or you stop breathing, or like you're hyperventilating, or you say out loud, I want to stop, I'm afraid, or I'm freaked out, or whatever, she can pull you out just with her voice. Yeah.
Wow, it sounds like it's wild ride, man. I
It,
don't know if I
it's
have the balls for it, bro. I don't know.
I didn't either, man. And that's one of those things, right? It's fear. Fear's a motherfucker, man. It gets us all, right. And I
100%.
actually and so what I remember is I was this is gonna sound funny, but I was in like a tiny little spaceship in my brain, and I'm like traveling through, and I would look side to side, and I would see memories like as a
What?
little shit. Like, man, I don't know how. I never
That's
remember any of
wild.
this stuff. Things from like when I was 2 years old, 5 years old, happy things. And then it got to points, shit, I didn't want to
Yeah.
remember. And I can remember like looking over and being like, oh, fuck, I don't like that. And I would just, okay. I wouldn't look at it. And it was really, but what it does, like, I remembered those things after those memories I didn't like, or those traumatic experiences I've had in my life. And I kind of was at peace with it. Like, what is like trauma recovery? What do you ever get over it? Like, it happened. You just have to learn to accept and deal with what it
Yeah.
was, and that you're not that person anymore, or that it doesn't have to hold you back in your life. It doesn't
It
have
doesn't
to
define
affect.
you.
That's right.
It doesn't
Exactly. And
define
that
you.
was really all it took. Like, it's really basic and simple, but for whatever reason, my brain wouldn't allow me to do that on my own. And it wasn't until I did the DMT that I really was able to come to terms with a lot of things and really move on from it, move forward with my life.
Did you like how, like, after you go through something like that, like, that's crazy. Like, for me, I know as soon as you said that, I could picture that. But then I know who I am. I'm like, after I have an experience like that, I would really sit down and be like, okay, never mind the bad stuff, but even those memories that I had that were good, like, there's a reason why those are recorded. Not every memory is recorded the same way. Did you sit down and think about why those memories were so ingrained and what they meant to you and how they've affected you your whole life?
It's a very good point, because I think what a lot of people, and this is why you really have to do your research, and you really have to find the right person to do this plant medicine with, because there's a lot of bullshit, just like martial arts and everything else. There's a lot of people that just want your money. They do big group settings. It's almost like a cultish thing, or like a recreational thing. And to me, that's wrong. That's not what this stuff is for. Integration is the biggest thing with, I think, any plant medicine, is what happens after.
Mm.
What's the plan for after you've done it, right? If
Yeah.
you have a shaman or somebody that doesn't talk about integration or doesn't work with you after, that would be a red flag to me. So integration, or how do you deal with your experience? Because it can be fucking unreal, right? It can be just, and then if you're just left with that, like that's not right. You know what I
do I do
mean?
with this?
Yeah. Okay, great. I had this experience. Now what? You know, you don't really get anything out of it, in my opinion, if that's the case. So I've been very lucky with the people I've been connected with, and I very much trust them. And like I said, I did it in 2019, and it's not up until now where I'm thinking I'm getting ready for an ayahuasca ceremony. I've been talking with another shaman, and they say it'll come to you. Like some people do it 6 months later, some people do it 3 years later. Everybody's different. The ayahuasca, the DMT it will tell you when you're ready, if you are ever ready to do another one, another ceremony or another session. I actually, yeah. So integration, I think, is the biggest thing. Is journaling's been big for me, and just like conscious thinking of like, why did I remember that memory? Why did it feel that way? Right? Because if you don't do that, I think that those memories, they become triggers. And you know, something like I got bullied when I was really, really young, right? And that has stuck with me, dude. Like up
Well,
until,
they ain't gonna fuck with you now.
yeah. And I still get that feeling,
Yeah.
that memory. It's like they say it's like a wound, right? So you have an open wound on your somebody cuts you, or a piece of metal cuts you, or whatever. 2 weeks later, somebody by accident touches that wound. It still feels the same pain. That person didn't cause that pain, but you feel the exact same pain as if the day you got cut by that piece of metal.
Yeah.
Trauma is the same way, right? A broken heart, your father, your whatever it is, people have been through. If you don't deal with it, that trauma stays with you and you're triggered, and it brings you back to that same memory. Like I was like 7, 8-year-old little boy getting bullied. And up until like the last couple of years, that's still what happened. When I'd see somebody else getting bullied, I'd get triggered. If I felt somebody was bullying me, it brought me back to that 7 or 8-year-old little boy that was so fucking scared and so traumatized by that. And then I'd react. And then like I'm in shape now, I'm trained, all this stuff. Like it can be a problem, right? If you're not in control.
I find most people that have gone through that kind of experience end up being martial artists.
Yeah,
100%.
that's how I got into martial arts. Was I was getting bullied, man, and that's what started me on that journey. And then like in high school, I got in tons of fights, hockey, and then I got tied up with some people. My late teens, I was living a crazy life, man. It wasn't good, right? But I had all this rage and pent up anger, and I was a good kid, man. Like it wasn't my nature. I was a big heart, love people, love to help people, and here I am. But it was always bullies, man. Like I was supposed to get expelled in grade 12 for fighting, and the principal, he called my mom and me in for an interview. There was like 2 months left in grade 12. I just had the marks to pass, and it was in Cambridge, and my principal was involved with the junior B hockey team, the Cambridge Winterhawks. And we had a lot of players from out of town that would come to our school. So he understood fighting a little bit from hockey and whatnot. And he called my mom in for an interview, and he said, listen, I'm like mandated by the Waterloo Regional School Board to expel your son for the amount of fights he's been in. And like this guy never did me any favors, you know? And so I got my head down. I'm like 2 months out from graduating grade 12, finishing high school, and I'm gonna fuck it all up, you know? And he took his glasses off, and he looked at me, and he said to me and my mom, he said, but I'm not going to expel him. And the only reason is all the names on the list of kids he's been in a fight with are known bullies in this school. Your son is a bully beater. And that is the only reason I have some grace for him. He cannot get another fight for the next 2 months because my ass is on the line. But yeah, so I had a big problem with that, man. And where, like, my mom would ask me, why are you doing this? Why are you fighting other people's fights? And it's that trauma from being that young boy at 7 years old, right? So if you don't deal with that stuff, man, it can really show up in your life all the way through. And I
I think
think,
that's a great trait you have, man, because I think, if even if it's not being done to you, if you see something being done to somebody else
yeah,
and you sit by and let it happen, you're the same as that person doing that shit.
yeah,
And that kind of, you know, um, way of thinking or way of resolving shit within school boards and stuff like that. I think that's what's weakened our society, because now we've let these sick people and these horrible people who shouldn't be in a position of influence get to where they are because of that kind of mentality. We need people to stand up, and that's cool that you had that even from them, man. And I understand why.
yeah. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, and I'm still that way. I'm very much a protective. I'm a sheepdog type dude, and I think you are too. But very very much more controlled than what I used to be. You know, if I'm the guy that will intervene if I ever see that out in public, but in a much more controlled way. So I gotta think legally and get in trouble and all that stuff too,
And
right?
would you say that like experience you had with the psychedelic is also a factor to that?
Yeah, big time. Yeah. Again, the more conscious to like, why do I behave that way when I see that? Why do I just like see red and like want to destroy
Yeah.
that guy? And it takes you back to the root cause of where that trigger comes from, and that's what it is. That 7-year-old little boy that got bullied, right? And now I've kind of come to terms with that. I've kind of moved past that in my life. I'm still am who I am, very protective and always help out other people that need it if I see it, but in a much more controlled manner that is still gets the result that I need, but is much more positive impact on me as a person.
Hmm. How does that affect your training in martial arts now? Does it allow you to hyper focus more? Does it allow you to analyze what it is that why you're doing it, the motivations why you're doing it, therefore help you focus your training?
It does very much. Focus, consciousness. It shows up in every facet of life. It shows up in my work life, my personal life, my relationships, uh, being a father, my martial arts training, all of it, man. It's just that you notice these little subtle differences in those interactions that you're having, and it sticks with you, man. Like it has stayed with me this whole time. And and that was like a 20-minute experience, man. Like so next is
What did it feel like? What did that 20 minutes feel like?
I like I was on another planet, man. Honest to God,
No, but
like
like the timeline, did it feel like it was long, like more than 20 minutes? Did it feel fast?
it didn't feel like time at all.
Wow, that's crazy.
I can't tell you I can't tell you. There was no time.
That's sick.
That there was no time. It was just
Crazy.
yeah, experience. Like I didn't feel like it felt like time stood still. It felt like a dream. You know, when you dream, you have no you have no
Yeah,
gauge of time.
that's wild, brother.
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, I've been connected with some very good people in that community. Um, I actually just yesterday did a combo ceremony. I don't know if you know what combo is.
No idea.
So there's a frog in the Amazon called the
Oh, okay. I think Tyson talked about that, right?
well, DMT also comes from a certain frog.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is different. This is combo KAMBO, and it's a for the giant monkey tree frog, and it's like Latin term. I can't pronounce it, but in the Latin term is the word Medusa as well, which is really cool. But what combo is? It's like a detox purge. They basically burn it onto you. So they make it, and then they burn a spot. They make like a wound, and then
What?
they put this combo. They put the combo into that, and you purge, like you throw up basically, and your body and your organs, they hold emotion and they hold energy. And I had an absolutely insane experience with that. I threw up a lot, and it's like yellow green, like from your liver, and a lot of like
Get all the toxins.
toxins, but also emotional toxin, like emotions that you store inside your body. I don't have a lot of information on it, but I'm really happy I did it. I have to do some more research on some of it, but it was an insane. Like I thought I had dealt with a lot of stuff, but man, like I purged like crazy. And the interesting part is I've had two completed suicide attempts. One when I was 18, one when I was 21. What I mean by completed is I followed through with the plan both times. Like I crossed that mental threshold and like pulled the trigger both times. Wasn't like, oh, I was thinking about suicide, or I was like sitting there with a noose but didn't do it. Like I did it both times.
Wow.
And somehow by the grace of God and by the power of the universe and the higher energies of our universe, it didn't happen. The first one, like I have a huge connect. I know you're a dog guy. I have huge connection with dogs for this reason. When I was 18, I lived with my mom. We had a family dog, a black lab named Boomer, and he was like a family dog, lap dog, like just a lazy, chill dog. Never barked a day in his life. My parents had divorced. I was going through a lot of depression and stuff. Came home and decided that was it. So I pulled my car into the garage, shut the door, laid down beside the garage door, right beside the tailpipe.
Oh, fuck,
And
man.
yeah. And I woke up to my mom at like the door going into the house, like screaming, but I was out at that point. So she found me and she said, Boomer was barking his head off. This dog never fucking barked a day in his life, but he barked and barked and barked, and he woke up my mom, and that's what saved me.
Wow.
And the second time I was 21, was into some bad shit. Like my life was just not good. And a guy I went to high school with, a really good football player, he committed suicide by injecting antifreeze into his vein.
Oh,
And that's where I got the idea. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure it would happen. I went down to Shoppers Drug Mart. I bought 2 syringes because I wanted to make sure it would work. I went into the same garage at my mom's house. There was like 3 bottles. I remember it vividly, clear as yesterday, man. 3 bottles of yellow Prestone antifreeze. And I grabbed the first bottle and I filled both syringes. I drove my car out into the country, relaxed, shut the car off, played some music, and I grabbed the first needle and put it in my vein, and I shot the whole thing. And I remember like grabbing the handle of like the door handle and like the console and like waiting for this like fucking to hit me. Breathing, I'm waiting. Like 5 minutes goes by, nothing. Don't feel a thing. Like, okay, maybe it takes some time. 10 minutes goes by, nothing. 20 minutes, half an hour, nothing. I'm like, what the fuck, man? So I'm like, maybe I didn't do enough. Grab the second syringe, put it into my other arm, into my other vein, make sure I get it in, shoot the whole thing, waiting for like my heart to stop or like some dramatic impact. 5, 10, 20 minutes goes by, nothing. I don't feel a goddamn thing. Hour, 2 hours goes by, nothing. I'm like, what the fuck? Now I'm tired. I want to go home. And I'm like, fuck, if I go home and I like fall asleep and I die in my sleep and my mom has to find me, like I've already broken her heart, so I drove myself to the hospital. And the fucking poor triage nurse, man, I walked in, I look normal. She's like, what's the matter? I'm like, I just injected antifreeze and tried to commit suicide. And she's like, what the fuck? Yeah. She takes off running. She comes out with all these doctors. They're rushing me in. They're like looking for an antidote. They're all this stuff. I can hear them talking. About an hour and a half goes by. The doctor comes in and he's like, do you have the syringes? And I said, they're out in my car in the parking lot. He asked for my permission if he could go get them. He went and got them. He came back and he came back in like 20 minutes later and he was like pissed off, like really rude to me. I was like, what the fuck, right? And he's like, you didn't inject antifreeze, you injected water. Like there's nothing but water in those syringes. And I'm like, what the fuck? I ended up in the hospital for like 6 to 8 months in a mental health institute. They didn't know what was going on with me. They, you know, I had a lot of anger problems is all it really came down to, that I didn't know how to handle. That was it. I wasn't sick. I wasn't mentally ill, but I did some shit that was pretty hardcore. So I got out of the hospital like 6 to 8 months later, and I went to live with my dad. I had a shitty old car. I was driving it for like a month. It started to overheat. My dad's like, okay, well, let's go to your mom's house, because we were living in an apartment. My mom had a house and a garage. Let's go to your mom's house. We'll change the thermostat in your car. Okay, cool. So we go do that, change the thermostat. He's like, okay, go up in the garage and grab a jug of that antifreeze to fill the car back up. Yeah, cool. So I'm walking up the driveway. I go to the first jug, the same jug I used. I reach down and grab. My dad goes, no, don't use that one, man. I used that's full of water. I used it on my boat.
Oh,
And I like fucking fell to my knees, man. Like the goosebumps, you know.
wow.
I got my whole back's tattooed on the bottom. I've got 2 Grim Reapers tattooed there for those 2 incidents, man. It's not your time until it's your time. I've tested that theory, you know. And that really changed when I was 21. That's really what set me on the journey of like healing and dealing with my shit and becoming a better person, man. Like I was like, you know what? I'm not leaving this world. I'm here, so I'm going to make the best of it now. Make the best version of myself. And
Did it ever make an effect on your spirituality?
Not at the time, but now it has. Like I didn't back then, but I'd say around like I'm 39 this year, around 30. I really started to open up to the thought of spirituality and a higher power and the power of the universe. And I'm very, very much more into my spirituality these days, man.
That's a crazy story, bro. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, so like I've done some microdosing with psilocybin. I mean, the plant medicines are really, you know, I don't push anything on anybody, but for me, that's the shit that really works. And it works in very subtle ways. There's no magic to it. It's not like, okay, you know, you do some mushrooms and tomorrow you're a better. You have to be in the mindset of wanting to heal. You have to be in the mindset of believing that you can. You have to be in the mindset that you can deal with your shit and be ready to deal with it. You know, I've had friends that have done DMT ceremonies or mushroom ceremonies or the microdose, and they're just like, ah, fuck, like I don't really feel anything. Well, that's because they're closed. They're still closed off. They're still in denial about their traumas and whatnot. So it's not like a magic thing that it's just going to heal you no matter what. It can facilitate. It can help you. It won't do the work for you. There's no substitute for the work. You know what I mean? That is the best way I could describe plant medicine.
What kind of prep work do you have to do to kind of get yourself ready for something that you're going to do like that? Like, is there any mental exercises or things you want to kind of cover before stepping into that world?
They'll give you a protocol. Usually there's like a period of fasting or a diet. You know, cut out this, cigarettes, like any kind of drugs, even sex. They'll tell you like 5 days, cut all of that out. 24 hours before, just water. Some are 12 hours before. It depends on what you're doing. With DMT, it was like 72 hours. No meat, I think, and no, like just basically fruits, vegetables, and water. And then nothing for 24 hours before.
Is that just for like the body's like levels, acidity levels, or whatever to kind of set to a default?
I think so, and to make sure that you get like the full absorption of
Yes.
plant medicine. I would recommend like breath work because it gets pretty intense, and if like you're in shape, active guy, so like your cardio is probably pretty good, but you know, making sure your breath work, because even with like cold therapy and stuff, I find breath work is really the key. And same with martial arts and fighting or pressure or fear. You can breathe through anything.
Yeah.
You know, so I would recommend making sure you've done some breath work and you can control your breathing pretty well, because it gets pretty intense, man. It gets pretty
And it's like to control, like to either stop with the hyperventilating, slow down the heart rate.
That's right.
Just kind of just regain control of the body and not let yourself take off emotionally.
Yeah, because what happens, and a lot of us guys are the same, where we like to be in control. Right? We like to be in control of what's going on. And the plant medicine takes over, and you have to submit, and you just have to trust in what you're doing and believe in what you're doing, and that you're going to be okay, because I remember like the intensity of the DMT, like when her counting down and I could feel this rush and I couldn't fucking stop it. My initial reaction was like, whoa, 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 this is too much. Like your brain goes right to that, right? I was like, shit, man, like this, I knew it would be intense, but I didn't know it was going to feel like this. Like it is intense, your heart rate, and you just breathe, and you just trust. And you have to let go of control, which is a very empowering thing to do. And I felt it yesterday with the Cambo too. It's a very different feeling, but I could feel the rush coming up through my chest into my throat. My throat got tight. My ears were like hot, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Intense, but you just breathe and you trust in what you're doing. That's what I mean by you really have to be ready. You can never be like fully ready or prepared for what you're going to experience.
Yeah, you have no reference.
Yeah, it's the unknown, right? But you have to be prepared, as in you trust yourself that you're going to be okay, that you're going to breathe through it, and that this is something you're doing for the betterment of yourself, and to take you to the next level in your journey, And if you remember those things, and you'll be just fine. Yeah.
How did you use that kind of like new positive attitude? It must have helped with during the COVID, all that bullshit when we were locked down. And because a lot of people, man, I don't think a lot of, like, we could talk about it now, but I don't really think this shit's even over with, right? Like, I think we're just kind of like, we're in a dormant phase and we're going to get hit with some shit again. Because I, for one, I don't trust the government at all anymore.
Yeah, I'm the same.
There's always something around the corner. But I know a lot of people during COVID, and myself included, they got mentally affected, man. And do you think that you would have been able to deal with that the same way had it not been for that experience prior to?
That's a very good question, because I haven't really gone back to that. But if I look back on like what COVID was like for me, it didn't really affect me.
Oh, lucky.
It didn't. I was lucky that I had a place I could still train, kind of closed door kind of thing, a trusted group of guys. We still went to train all the time. My work at Toyota shut down, I think only 2 months the first time, and like 3 weeks the second time. So I could still go to work. I'd still get like, having to wear a mask in here and all this stuff, whatever. But it really didn't affect me mentally, man. I didn't like what was going on, but it didn't beat me up too bad. It didn't send me into, I know it fucked with a lot of people and depression and isolation and stuff like that. But yeah, to be honest, it didn't really affect me. And I would have to say that it's probably because of my DMT experience. I don't know if I would have felt the same or had the same experience through COVID if I hadn't done the DMT prior. So I guess it was pretty good timing for me.
Sounds like it. Sounds like someone was working in the background again.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah.
Because I had I know like at least 3 people that passed away during that time. You know what I mean? And just
brutal.
I just put them over the edge. Because we never know what kind of shit people are dealing with already. We never know what kind of shit people are walking around with already that, like you said, I haven't dealt with it. I haven't had an ability to deal with it. And then when something like COVID happens, it's like that shutdown. They really feel alone, but now it's like they got nowhere to go but sit in their own thoughts. So it's kind of like going through that kind of trip, but without the drug itself. You're being forced to kind of sit and dwell in your own head.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a good point, because I'm sure that's when things will come up. That's when you're in isolation or even solitude. Those are 2 different things, but that's when you're alone with your mind and there's no distractions. That's when the demons want to come out to play, right?
Right. Go down that
And
rabbit hole.
if you're either ready for that or you're not. And if you're forced to deal with it, if you're forced to be alone with your mind when you're not ready, that can be detrimental.
What do you think about these guys that do these trips, but they do it like in an outdoor setting? Would you ever like be interested in doing something like that? Because I'm assuming it would feel different, like in outdoors, in remote places.
Yeah, I'm very connected to nature. I love the outdoors. So I think for me it would be an awesome experience. And when I plan to do an ayahuasca ceremony, it'll be in that setting. I'm not sure what that'll be like, but I think it'll be awesome. I think it'll be a good thing.
Probably be like more primal, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to have that experience for sure. Yeah.
Do you do like hunting, fishing, anything like that?
I don't hunt. I want to get into it eventually. I'm an animal lover, man. Like I don't know if I could. I think I would struggle with killing an animal,
Yeah.
but knowing like to harvest a deer and respect the animal and use the meat and feed my family, having that in my forethought, I would be able to. And it's something I've thought a lot about. I've got buddies that hunt. I got a buddy that's got a hunting camp. So I do
really?
want to get to. I fish. I love the outdoors, man. I do a lot of like outdoor survival stuff and like outdoor camping. And
That's the thing I want to get into now, man. Is I bought a compound bow off my buddy, and I want to go buy a shoddy.
yeah,
And yeah, because I think when I look at martial arts altogether, I do include like the gun, the firearms.
yep,
It's our modern day weapon, right? And I think part of the training that is not just the martial arts, the spirit. I think it's like survival too. Survival should be a very huge survival in the sense of like wilderness, but also like first aid, tourniquet, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, I ask that question myself. I'm like, I love animals as well, but I want to make sure like I want to be able to have the skills required to survive if shit gets worse. You know what I mean? And I think I have to do that out of being a father. I think I have to do it. It's not something where I maybe or I'll feel like I have to do it. I have to have those skills. And I'm wondering with how I'm going to deal with shooting something. I don't think that's going to bother me too much because it's not a person and it's something I'm going to eat. But it's the gutting it. It's the gutting it up and stuff like that. I need to understand how am I going to deal with that. I'm sure the first time it'd be like a little awkward, but once I understand how to do it.
Yeah, I feel the same, man. I think the whole survival skill set is becoming a very lost art. It's not taught a lot. It's not talked about a lot. But what a fucking necessity, man. You know what I mean? It's almost like a no-brainer. Like everyone should know. It's like the most basic thing is survival. You look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, man. Like the foundation is like survival, food, water, shelter. You know what I mean? And how many guys, like, I know, like I talk to a lot of guys about this kind of stuff and they're like, fuck, man, like if you put me out in the wilderness right now, I'd be fucked.
Yep.
Right. And so I've done a lot of that type of training and I know some really good guys that are highly trained in those skills. And I still brush up. I still train it. I still work on my skills. And I think it's like a necessity for people. It should be like mandatory almost, you know what I mean? And being a father and a husband and having a family to take care of, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Have that. Yeah.
100%. I just think too, like, I don't think a lot of people be surprised on how people react when they actually go out in the bush and spend the night in the bush. How, like, if you're a city boy and you're not used to that shit, how scary that shit sounds.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. I remember like when I went to the Special Forces experience in October 2020 and I spent the year prior training and I would go out like at night on my own and like I'd go find like crown land or conservation areas and I would just go walk into the bush alone with like very minimal supplies and tools and build a little and it was scary sometimes, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie, but the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and the more you just trust yourself and you trust nature. Mother Nature is the be all end all, man. She is the greatest being of all, and she's the nurturer, and she'll take care of you if you take care of her. And yeah, those experiences, man, tough, some of them, scary, some of them, but best thing for you, man. And that's what I tell guys, like, how do you practice? Like, just take one night, even if you like, just go out for one night, go out there and force, even if, dude, the first time I went, I did not sleep.
No, you're not going to
sleep a fucking wink.
Too many fucking sounds. You don't know what it is.
Too many sounds, like branches breaking, fucking shit. Like, didn't sleep a wink. I was so happy when the sun rose. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my, and then you're like, hey, I survived that, man. I did it. You go the next time, it's easier. Oh, I know what that branch is breaking. I know what comes out at night. It's a squirrel, it's a raccoon, it's whatever. Nothing's gonna hurt you, man. And you get used to it. And then next time you go out and maybe you spend 2 nights or whatever, and you build a better shelter. Like, you occupy yourself with things. And then you have the time, and that's, to me, is the difference between isolation and solitude.
Oh, that's a good point. That's great.
Right. And I would go out there, and those experiences were solitude. I wanted to be alone with myself. I wanted to be alone with my thoughts. I wanted to see what I was really capable of and made of. When you strip everything away, you take Google away, the phone, YouTube, call a friend, call the police, call an ambulance, fucking everything it's just you.
Yeah.
That's solitude, and when you're purposely facilitating that experience, it's not just thrown on you when you're not ready for it. To me, that's the difference between isolation and solitude when it comes to dealing with your mind.
I think that's why, like, even in a lot of cultures all over the world, South Africa, everywhere, you see these guys when they get to a certain age that they have to have that time in the wild, right? And I think that's because if you, like, when I first moved out of the home when I was young, right? I moved out young, and it was like an exciting time, but it was a very scary time because, like, I fucking cut the cord. Like, there's no net now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not talking about in the woods, but we're talking about in a concrete jungle. You know what I mean?
That's right.
When you move away from everybody, you don't have friends, everything's unfamiliar, and you can't call people. And, like, I mean, at the end of the day, you can call somebody, but the point is you don't. You got to try to make it on your own. When you're by yourself in your own home, and if you don't know how to be by yourself, because some people will substitute that. They'll just invite people over all the time, and they don't know what it's like to be by themselves. But when you're by yourself and you know who you are and you like who you are, more importantly,
that's right,
you're gonna be all right. You can do fucking anything.
That's solitude, man. When you're okay with who you are, down to the nitty gritty root of who you are, when you can be alone with that, be alone with your mind and who you are, and be okay with the man in the mirror, and you have no one else to blame or distract from, that's a beautiful thing, man. And a lot of people don't even get to that. They don't even know who they are because they're too afraid to put themselves into that position to find out. And in the beginning, you may not like what you see, and you may not like, but then you got something to go on. Now you got a baseline that you can build on to be better.
Yeah.
Right. And that's super important, man. Super important.
Yeah, there's been times where I looked in the mirror and it's just like, I see my face, but I don't fucking recognize who you are. Like, what's going on with you? You know what I mean? Because it's like, I think we're so overstimulated. We're constantly on this, like, reaction mode. Yeah. We don't really get a chance to, like, stop and be like, I know, let me think about this shit for a second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't think a lot of people's thoughts are necessarily their own anymore because they don't give themselves for that time for that solitude, right? We're constantly, if we're not with people in person, we're interacting with people on fucking social.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So where is that?
That's all a distraction, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but people think they're by themselves because, oh no, I'm home by myself. No, but you're surfing a fake life.
Yeah, or even the TV or watching a movie or whatever. Yeah. It's a substitute, right? And it's a distraction, and it's good that you can do that. If you look in the mirror at times alone and you don't like what you see, good. Now you got something to work on, man. But so many people are terrified terrified to do that, man, and it causes a big problem in our society.
Yeah, yeah, because people are so unsure they're just going to cater. It's like they're being. It's like the formula is perfect to create the beta male
Yeah,
or the beta person. You know what I mean?
it's true, man.
Anybody who's not that is like fucking. Hey, you're different. Fucking, you're this, you're that. You're a homophobe. You're this and that and the other. It's like what the fuck. And then it gets to the point where you don't, just so that you can have some solitude, whatever you have less, you're just like, okay, sure, I'll agree to this. Just leave me the fuck alone. Leave me to my house at least. And that's not good.
No, I agree, man. I agree.
I remember one time, man, I don't know if you remember, years and years and years ago, probably like early 2000s, there was that fucking blackout on the Eastern Seaboard.
Yes.
Okay, so
2003, man.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so at that time I had just moved down to I was renting my brother's. He had this house in Toronto, but nobody lived upstairs yet, and he had the bachelor apartment downstairs. It was perfect for me. I could afford the rent, and I needed to get out of where I was living, right?
Perfect.
So I went there, and that's what I started feeling like, that was that time of solitude for me. I needed to change and not be around people, right? Because I was getting into shit. I got arrested, and I was like, okay, I can't be here. Yeah. So I'm there, right? And then fucking I'm only there living like a month. I don't know anybody down there, and that fucking blackout happens. So I come home from work, and I'm like sitting in my house. Everything's fucking off. I don't know, nothing. I'm just sitting there like in my head. I go outside. The beautiful thing I saw is for this month and a bit that I was living there, I never seen people too many people outside. But when this blackout happened, all of a sudden everybody was forced outside.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. Like you start seeing all these different people outside, they're interacting, now they're playing cards. People are barbecuing the shit out of stuff so the meat doesn't go bad.
Yeah.
Everybody's bringing plates across the street to this person and that person. And then there's all of a sudden it's you take away technology and right away people need a magnet to each other.
It's community. It's tribe. We've lost those ways, man.
Yeah, man. That's
people, dude. We're afraid of our neighbors now. You know what I mean? But you have something like that happen, and look at the change, right? That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah, man. That was one memory I'll have from that. And I was just like, man, that. And then I look at now, it's like my kids, right? I don't let my kids just play on the fucking street and be inside the house. That's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? In the world that we live in, I'm sure you're kind of protective that way too.
Big time.
When I bought my trailer, at tail end of COVID, I bought my trailer and because like a lot of people did, I just needed to fucking get away, man. I wanted to be around nature. I wanted to have some quiet. And when I brought the kids out there, it was amazing, brother. They fucking learned how to ride their bike in a week. They were they're swimming, just went like this. They were playing with other kids. They were like, hey dad, I'm going to play. I'm like, okay, just stay in our area. Here's a walkie-talkie if shit happens. And I was I look at my wife, I'm like, man, they're actually having a childhood now.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
And the development.
Yeah.
The development that they gained from just living that kind of life is much more different and way, way better. You can really measure that shit just with things like coordination.
Yeah. I believe
coordination, balance, you know what I mean? Because your kid's not doing that shit, but they should be doing that. When we were kids, I'm sure you're out one of those guys out in fucking creek lifting rocks, picking up crayfish.
100%.
Right?
100%. Yeah.
You learn so much things on how to move and how to explore and shit. The kids don't have that shit now. And so they're developed a different way, bro.
Big time.
That's why I think you have this clash right now of the remnants of guys like us, our generation, who are still lingering, and then this new generation that was born into just technology. Because we had both. We didn't have technology and we had technology.
That's right. Yeah. It's quite the contrast nowadays, man, with the newer generations. It's
how do you get for your kids? I'm not sure how many you have, but how do you give them that missing thing that you think that a lot of kids don't have now?
For me, it's I have a daughter. I have a young daughter. She's 6, and I bought her a 4-wheeler. We live out in the country.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I take her fishing. I let her rip around our property. I'll let her go out in our backyard. It backs onto farm and forest, and she just, I've been lucky that way that I can let her do those things safely. She goes out. We got a jungle gym in the backyard or a trampoline. She'll go do that. She'll have her little friends over, or she'll jump on her quad and rip around the backyard, or she'll take the dog and run around with the dog. And I'll take her out into the forest all the time. We'll go on walks, and like I'll hand her my knife under my supervision. She'll like shave down a stick or like pick at rocks with it and stuff, you know. So I try to facilitate those experiences as safely as much as I can with her, because I agree with you 100%. I think it's so important that if they're in front of a tablet or whatever all day, or the TV, it's like, man, it's like poison to their brain. It's stunting their development, like you talked about, you know. Yeah,
I think it's cool. Like now you're creating those memories that, like how when you describe your rocket ship, you have those good memories that they really have milestones and make you become who you're becoming. And you get to, now that you're conscious of that, it's like now I can like really proactively make those memories with my kids.
Yeah.
Because there's always those, like, you know what I'm talking about. There's always those like really profound moments in childhood that you can smell something and it'll take you right back.
Yeah, totally, man, totally. And I do my best to provide that for my daughter, and I think I have done a pretty good job at that up to this point, because there's things like that I did with her. She's 6. There's things I've done with her when she was 3, and she'll remember.
Yeah.
She'll remember. So I know that that's impacted her positively, right? And that just like fucking
my oldest Sophia, I'm like, you're gonna be a lawyer. Like, you don't, that girl can tell you what you were wearing or like what the song was. I'm like, man, I feel bad for your boyfriends or you're never gonna let them forget it. But
yeah, man, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So with regards to training, what is your focus lately? What has been your drive? You look like you're in good shape, brother.
Yeah, to be honest, training and like working out and stuff has always been like a mental health therapy for me too. Like my girl and stuff, she'll know if I haven't like been training a lot. She'll be like, man,
cranky and shit.
Crank, get the fuck to the gym.
Yeah.
She knows, right? More I still train like a lot of jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and some blade work and firearms and stuff. And it's just like building on skills now, you know, skills and conditioning and strength, and just keeping the body healthy, keeping the mind healthy. I don't really have a focus.
Are you not doing like the because we did that training together, are you not doing trying to get contracts or any type of training for that?
I haven't done a lot of that. I still train, like I've trained with Randy a few times, you know, working on the firearm stuff and the combatives and, you know, the detaining and disarming and all that stuff. But on this journey I've been on, man, I'm not sure exactly which way I want to go with my life at this point, you know?
Yeah.
I've looked at some career changes and stuff. Like I've left Toyota. I don't work in the factory anymore.
Good for you, bro.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I'm doing electrical work still, but different. And I'm even thinking of getting out of that completely. I'm still trying to find my calling, you know, in that regard, like who I am and what I want to be as far as like a job or a career or how I support myself. I've done some private security training. I've had some contracts. I did one with Jeremy Bieber. I was doing some private security work with him for a while and whatnot, but I haven't so at one point, I think when we were training, I was looking at launching a business and really.
Yeah, that's why I asked. I remember that.
Yeah, I was really like thinking I wanted to get out of Toyota, and, you know, that's always martial arts, and that whole field has always been my passion. And it still is. But I'm not sure if I want to jump in yet with 2 feet. You know what I mean? I really want to. It's still more of like a hobby and like a skill I'm very passionate at, but I don't know if it's what I want to do full time all the time. I don't know that yet. So
I'm in the same place as you, man. Like now, like for a while I was trying to focus on teaching and growing programs and stuff like that, and I was doing that for a bit, and it'd have ups and downs. I also didn't advertise as much as I should have. I'm not really good at that. Like, that's not my forte. I don't like spending that much time on it. But, you know, I was teaching a few places, but I don't know. I miss being the student more.
Yeah.
I miss being the student more because I love teaching, bro. But here's the thing. I like teaching like when I want to fucking teach.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly. I don't like being like, it's good. Like, cause here's the dilemma, right? You want to see the program grow, but in order for you to do that, you gotta like really focus and tend that garden and water it and this and that. That's a
A lot
lot,
of time and energy, man.
especially when you're starting. But like if it's your like a solo act,
That's right.
like
Yeah.
I don't have a school, but like I teach at different programs at different clubs.
Yeah.
And every club has their own like culture and feel and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you mesh with the people, but your art is not really meshing here.
Right.
And sometimes your art meshes here, but you don't really mesh with the people.
Yeah.
And
That's
there's
tough.
so many different combinations. I've been lucky. I like nothing but great people, but like I feel like I have to go here, I have to be there. So I don't feel like none of them are home.
Right. Right.
You know, and that I don't know, that makes it not as fun for me.
It's hard to drive something when it doesn't feel like that, man.
Right.
I felt the same. Like I've had so many people like, oh, you have this skill, that skill, this trading. Like, why are you running your own business? And I've taught some people and I've done some of that. But again, it's just like I've done it at Mass. Like Chris opened the gym for me to do it there, and same thing. But that's a Muay Thai gym.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody wants to do combatives or like Krav Maga stuff or like the rest and control stuff or the gun stuff. Like
it's a specific group of people.
It is, man, and it's that's probably why I haven't gone full force with it. You know, it hasn't felt right yet.
Yeah. I mean, like I'll still always teach at combat because that'll be a home forever, like until it closes its doors. I just grew up there and I'll never leave there. As long as they have me there, I'll go there. But I think and also like after COVID and shit like that, this summer's now, I did it for the first time, brother. I tell you, I'll do it every year. So once May comes, the trailer opens up.
Yeah.
Fuck the weekends.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm with
That's
my kids.
Your time, man.
That's it, man. It's like, and then, but the thing is like it creates that balance, right? Because now, like, I've always was doing it on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And, and it would be like 4-hour days, right? I would go for this class, that class, teach. I do a private lesson. I might jump in this, then I chill maybe, and then by the time I get home, it's like 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah, day's gone.
And I work all week, and Saturday's gone, and Sunday we usually got to do chores and stuff. Thank you. We got to do chores and stuff. So there's like, where's the time for my kids? Where's the time for me?
Yeah. I was like that with Toyota too, man. Like working and then have to work Saturday and then go train in the evenings or after work. And then like you get Sunday and then that's like your only family time and whatnot. And the work-life balance, and even like the martial art life balance, even that's important, man. Or you get burnt out or you get turned off from it or whatever. Right. Yep. So I'm happy to hear you do that in the summers, man. That's
I'll never not do it again. And I'm really lucky. Like I have good friends, good training partners, good students, not just students, but they're instructors as well. I learn from them as well. But like they're very skilled people. I can just turn around and be, hey, bro, can you cover this class? No problem. And it's awesome. A relief. It's a relief, right? Yeah. And like during the week, I'll still teach or whatever, but like I'm gonna teach less. I want to train more again because I know my training in certain areas have depleted. And because I haven't spent time on it, I've gotten better in different areas. But now I can really recognize, okay, this is good, but now this is really significantly dropped. So I'm going to stop here and rebuild this up again. And just like, it's just good to like do new shit and be in that process of like earning your shit, earning your stripes.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like you made a point of like, you said, you love being a student still. And I've even said that before, like I will forever be a student. I don't need a title of like instructor or this or that. And even like running my own business and teaching, I've done some teaching and stuff, but it just doesn't feel natural to me. I love to learn. It's selfish in a way. I like to do things for me that cater to me and my needs. And I love to learn. I love to polish my skills. I love to, work on things for me. And if I can do that well teaching or training with somebody, cool. But I think it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah. And I'm more looking into like, how when you're young and you first start looking at like doing martial arts, you think the fucking gear is going to make you. Like I'm gonna buy these really
brother. Been there, man. Yeah. Been there.
So now it's like I'm investing and I'm looking for those like really good fucking training partners that are gonna make me like get better. And you know what? There's tons of good partners out there, but you know what I'm talking about. You get those odd ones that just like you can really Yeah, you can really stick with, because you know it's like when you kind of can like read what that person's doing, you kind of know how they think, and you
Yeah.
can like trust them in a level where like I know this mother guy, I know this guy's here to like help me while
Yeah.
he's helping himself, not just somebody who's just like competitive and just
Yeah.
wants to fucking just like, oh, I want to.
I kind of felt that with you the first time we trained,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Up in Ottawa. Like me and you just clicked, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't about you or me. It was like, fucking, this is fun. This is like, let's
Yeah,
play.
yeah,
Pick it
yeah,
up. Let's play. It was great, man. It was
yeah,
great. And it
yeah,
makes you want to train with you. Like, honestly, bro, like, take me out. Let me know. Because I meant to, I called Archie, and I know he's busy as shit. Plus, he moved.
yeah,
Because I know you guys
yeah,
work with him. And I'm like, yo,
yeah,
when you get together with those guys, let me know, man. Because I got my license and shit like that, but I'm not really active with the firearms. And
yeah.
that's something I want to get better at. And like, if you have a community that like
I do, man. I have a
bro,
place, like Matt, Embry's
Embry?
been out a few
Yeah.
times, and we have a buddy of mine's farm. It's private property, and we train like all kinds of stuff out there, man. So
Oh
I
man,
will
I would love it. I would
definitely,
learn so much from you guys, man.
yeah, I will definitely bring you out, man.
Yeah,
100%.
you guys
Got
can
my
help me
word on
so
that.
much. A lot of high level guys. I've seen those guys. There are a lot of Matt's fighting soon in Oshawa, his first MMA
Yeah,
debut.
yeah. June 3rd, I think.
You
Yeah,
going
man.
to watch that?
Yeah, we're going. Let's go.
Oh, okay.
A couple of us are going. My buddy Josh, another
All right,
guy,
I'll buy tickets then.
Sabir. Yeah. We're all going to go together, man. Support him. So
Awesome. All right. Yeah. So if you guys are going, I'll buy tickets. I'll try to see where you guys are sitting. Let me know where you guys are
yeah.
sitting after. I'll try to buy tickets close.
Yeah, for sure, brother. We'll do that.
Does he know who he's fighting yet?
I don't know yet. I don't know who his opponent is yet, man. But I feel
I'm
sorry for
very
that
interested.
dude.
I see clips of his grappling. He looks fucking
His
sharp, man.
grappling is good, man. For a
How long has he been
kickboxer,
training?
I think he's been doing. I know he's been training grappling for the last couple of years.
Yeah, with Bruckman, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and then he was scheduled to fight 6 or 8 months ago, and it got canceled. So he was prepping for that fight way back, like 8-9 months ago. So he's really been gearing up for this, man. He's going to do awesome. I'm excited for him.
What made him? Do you know what made him like switch and think about doing the MMA? Because that's like way out. Like
Way
that's a
out,
whole
man.
other skill set. But see, that's the
Yeah.
kind of shit that keeps you alive, man.
That's it. And it's the same. Like he's really proficient with a firearm. He does a lot of outdoor
Yeah,
stuff.
I've
He's
seen
like
that.
us. He just likes to learn, man. And he's a guy that focuses on those skills when he's into it. And I think he just got so far with kickboxing. Like it's like, okay, I want to try something. He got into like grappling and really pushed that, and now into MMA. So it's just one of those guys that really drives forward with things.
I think that's important too, eh? Like when you get to a certain proficiency at something, you kind of get that like fulfillment.
Yeah.
And that some people will just stay there because it's comfortable, right? And you
Yeah.
just keep doing that one thing. And I think that's pretty cool that you get to a certain level at something and be like, hey, I'm content with my ability here. I don't really have another drive with this other than what I've done. Let's do something else.
Yeah. You never stop learning, man. That's super important, man. It's super important. You know, it's learning new, like even for the cerebral, like the neuroplasticity part, man. It's interesting. I was talking to a guy, and we were talking about like old age and like dementia and what happens in people's brains. And it's the old saying is, if you don't use it, you lose it.
It.
Same with your body, right? You get older, you become less active, your joints start to hurt, all of a sudden your mobility starts to go. And it's the same thing with your brain. You talk about like white matter and gray matter in the brain and whatnot. They've done studies like I've seen articles like 97-year-old woman gets her psychology degree, in university. Like that's why she's 97 years old, because she keeps using her brain, keep learning new skills, keep learning new things, like whatever, read a book, learn something new, keep using your brain. I think that's what'll keep you young, and keep you healthy.
Yeah, I think to add to that, it's definitely like when you're doing something or you're in the pursuit of something, that pursuit that gives us life, that gives us the purpose, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of mentality, not only does it keep our will alive, but it also has effects with the endorphins and everything like that's in our brain, right? And it's telling our brain like it's like pumping, we're thriving, right? When you don't do that shit, it's just like, oh, now I'm on the decline, so the body's just gonna fucking deteriorate because
That's right.
it doesn't have that will. And I think this is why we see like these, you know, a lot of older cultures around the world, why they're, you know, they have like the older people in the village or whatever like that, because I think it's a combination of not just that, but also on the other side is like these people were regarded different in their culture, where they're regarded as like human encyclopedias, people of wisdom, and
Right.
they're needed, they're counseled, right?
Yes.
And when we have purpose, when these people have purpose, they last longer because they feel like they have a role in society, right? And now
That's
it's
a
like,
very good point.
now in this kind of like climate that we live in now, it's like old people are kind of like pushed over here. You're an inconvenience.
Yeah. It's very true. They're almost forgotten about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, listen, brother, I really thank you for the time you took to do this with me. I think it's great to see your face, not just talk to you. Great to see your face.
You too, buddy. I missed it.
It's been a while, man. But listen, no bullshit. Let's please make time this summer to meet up. I would love to come out and learn with you guys and train with you guys. And like I said, I'm a total noob for that outdoor shit. But
That's
there's
all
definitely something that's been in my head. Like, no, this is the next thing I need to learn.
Yeah, you got my word on that, brother.
Let's shoot some shit and fucking have some beers and have a good time.
Awesome.
All right, brother.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Man. I'll send you a link as soon as it's out. This is the correct web Instagram account? People can see your stuff.
Yep, that's it, brother. You got it, man.
All right, man. God bless you and your family.
All right. God bless you too, brother. Take care. All right, man.